Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So in today's video, as you can tell by the title and the thumbnail, we'll be continuing to talk about this potentially very snowy and very cold weather pattern that the long-range models have been hinting at for quite a while now. And they have continued to do so, and now we are finally starting to see the operational models, the European, the GFS, the Canadian, the ones that go out to around 10 to 15 days, begin to show this pattern. And let me tell you, they've been handling this all over the place. One day they show a massive nor'easter, one day they show a massive Colorado low developing snow across the Dakotas, and sometimes they just show nothing at all, and in fact warm. So they've been bouncing around. But I do want to show you and kind of make sense of what I'm seeing. The models may be bouncing around, but that doesn't change the fact that it seems like this pattern is going to be cold, snowy, regardless however it happens, and it will be staying around for quite a while. Okay, so I want to start off with the GFS model, and we are currently looking at the current time period, and you could tell that because at the very top right hand corner of the screen is the time that I have put in a little box there. So that is the time where this map that is currently showing is occurring, right? So I will try to do my best to keep the date informed to you guys as I go through this, but often I forget, so the timestamp is in the far right corner. Notice that right now we are definitely not resembling anything of a winter pattern. In fact, it is anomalously warm to the point where it's been a really warm fall, and a lot of people in the comments on my recent videos have been saying it's so warm, what are you talking about? Well, you know, the cold, as I've been saying over and over again, will not be here till Thanksgiving, most likely after Thanksgiving. So it will still be a good week and a half of pretty much warm weather, record-breaking warmth across some of these areas. And only as I drag this forward into the future time will we begin to see some of this cold. But again, as I mentioned, there's going to be rain, there's going to be a lack of snow, warmth all the way through the upcoming next few weeks here, or I guess next few days. I don't really want to spend too much time addressing any of these systems. There was at one point seemingly a threat for severe weather across the central and eastern portion of the United States. If you recall in my other videos, that threat is still definitely there, but it has noticeably decreased as both the models have decided to paint the storms in a much less aggressive and malicious style. And as I put this forward, this is now the weekend, so again, some rain for the northeast and the south. You can see some scattered showers. Southwest, we have a cutoff low there. And again, really not much snow with that one. Again, some of the models were earlier showing that there could have been quite a bit of snow with these early systems, but at least in the mountainous areas. But at this point, it seems as if that is not the case. And as I put this forward now, we are into Thanksgiving week, so we are still going to be seeing record warmth here. And just to show you some of these temperature anomalies, they are going to be broad and very strong. Broad meaning it's going to be covering much of the United States, and those readings are very warm. Only once we start getting towards, again, around that Thanksgiving time frame, there will be some sort of a system. Again, the models have been really going back and forth with regards to this system. You can see that the GFS currently shows a northern piece to it and potentially a southern piece, but it fails to pair them together, and it doesn't really create a system, but it does create a cool down. And finally, some of that warm air gets washed away with more normal air. This isn't even a massive cold outbreak. It's just more seasonable air around Thanksgiving, maybe some snow showers for the Great Lakes. Again, we will have to wait and see what exactly unfolds here, as the models have been jumping back and forth here for a really good time. As I put this forward with this particular GFS model run, you can see that there's a stronger band of cold air and potentially some sort of a system with snow setting up on Black Friday weekend, post Thanksgiving. And we see a lot more cold air with this one. We see also a lot more precipitation, hence the snow, and potentially severe weather across the south. How this will exactly unfold, I don't want to focus on that right now, because again, just like in my recent video about the winter storms that I was talking about, there's going to be some big ones in here. The models right now at this far time frame are just all over the place, and they will continue to be all over the place probably for the next week and a half. So yeah, we will definitely be updating you guys on this, but it does seem as if for now we won't get really any more clearance than just a snowy and active pattern, which is why I decided to call that today's video. And do note that the cold remains as we get into December 3rd, December 4th. We see quite a bit of cold air being reluctant to move really anywhere other than the eastern United States and potentially the west as well. We do see continued moisture though from the Pacific, so again, that's only a matter of time before one of these sets up into a large storm. You can see, for example, the GFS develops some sort of a nor'easter there. So the main point is that there is going to be a lot of cold air, and you can see that the anomalies are going to be pretty stark, especially the further north and west you go. This isn't going to be most likely the stay and kind of the hit and stay cold where it stays cold for a really long time. It's a little too early in the season for that, but there are going to be blasts of cool air, and with that we will be seeing definitely the threat of snow, especially with these warm and cool temperatures kind of battling out. Storms really love that, so it's only a matter of time before we get a really big system. So now I want to show you the European model, and we are now starting it off at Thanksgiving week. I decided to skip forward as, again, the GFS and European pretty much more or less agree on a lot of those systems with the rain across the south, and they're not going to be involving snow, which is what today's video is about, this cold and snowy pattern. So notice that the European does something similar that the GFS does. It fails to pair those systems. Around that Thanksgiving time frame, if you recall, the GFS had a northern piece and a southern piece, and the European shows the very same exact thing, but it fails to develop a system out of that. Whether or not that will maintain itself and be the case, we'll have to wait and see. Regardless, it seems as if the cold air will be coming in. The European earlier, even today in the morning, developed a system from this little guy right here on the kind of the nose of that jet stream with this first blast of cold air and developed it into a massive storm, and now it doesn't, right? 6 hours later. So we'll have to wait and see how that unfolds. Just because something disappeared doesn't mean it can't reappear, and just because something's there doesn't mean it can't disappear. But notice that just like the GFS, it shows continued cold and potentially snow pretty far south, as again the cold will be pretty extensive. Again, it does show some sort of a system in the northeast, mid-Atlantic, Ohio Valley there. Whether or not that will happen in that exact style is probably 100% not going to, but the point is to show that a cold pattern is setting up with a lot of activity, some Alberta clippers there, and moisture pretty much streaming in here from everywhere, either the Pacific, the Northwest. So this is going to be an interesting time frame with the cold there for the snow and the precipitation and moisture also there. So now what we're looking at is a little something different. This is Weather Bell Analytics. It's a website that I've just recently started using. I've seen some other YouTubers use it, and it seems like a very interesting website. But this particular chart is not. I've been using the extended European weather models for quite a while, so this goes out to 46 days. Except on this website, they update it every day, while the other website that I use only updated around every 3 to 4 days. It's more or less the same product, and I want to show you this. So this is a 7-day anomaly of this, or a 7-day averaged out anomaly of the European ensemble. So it takes the average of 7 days and it moves it forward by 1 day. So see day 4 through 11, you move it forward 1, it's day 4 through 12. So again, up until that Thanksgiving week, it's going to be warmer across the eastern United States. We do see that first invasion of cold, if you will, around that early December time frame. So again, this is a very far out model, so we're talking in terms of weeks here, not really days. And then it shows some sort of a little bit of a moderation maybe as you get closer towards the middle of the month of December, first few days. Nothing extremely hot though. In fact, it's probably going to be more a mix of cold and warm. Again, probably pretty nice for a system to form there. There's going to be a lot of ingredients, a lot of moisture. And then interestingly, it actually reinforces the cold as you get towards Christmas, and it does so in a pretty stark way. This is a really strong signal this far out. So the models are definitely, the long range and the operational European at this point, are both showing quite a bit of support for this snowy and active pattern. Okay, so the next thing I want to show you is the European AI model. This is a model that's relatively new with the whole AI craze. The meteorology community also obviously jumped in on that. But in all due respects, AI probably has a really good potential for meteorology and for forecasting as it's just mathematical equations, unlike some other aspects of life where AI is getting into. That's a side note, or a side tangent. Do note that we are looking at the 24-hour snowfall, so it's every 24 hours is a new frame, and you can see that it's showing, this is the first, the 24th, 23rd of November. I apologize if it's a little small to see, but I'll tell you when something interesting shows up. So this is now Wednesday of the Thanksgiving Day, or Thanksgiving week. This is now Thanksgiving Day, Thursday 27th. And notice that after, so again, right around when that pattern change is indicated by the other models, we see a swath of snow from the AI European model across a central part of the country here. Right now with this particular model run, it's favoring Ohio, Illinois, potentially Nebraska, and into portions of the Great Lakes and Northeast. But I just want to say that this model actually has been pretty consistent with some kind of a stripe of snow across the central United States or south, depending on, again, how cold or not cold it will be. You can see this was a few model runs ago. It showed a similar swipe just a little further north along with that kind of cold front. So there's definitely some sort of potential here, and whether or not the AI model is up to something and potentially has a little bit more consistency than the European or GFS will remain to be seen. One thing that makes me question the European AI model a little bit is the temperature outlook. So it doesn't show warmth, but it shows such cold that it's almost unbelievable, which makes me kind of question its snowfall outlook, even though it has been consistent. Notice as I drag this forward, it shows warmth, just like the other models. But where it begins to differentiate is around that late November, post-Thanksgiving time frame, and you can see that we see a lot of cold, which seems pretty normal for now, but look at some of these colorations it gives this. This is essentially cold that is off the charts. It is way more aggressive than any of the other ones, and it intensifies this cold as it moves further south. I believe that the morning one was even more crazy. Look at that. I mean, that would be ridiculous. It's probably not going to happen. So I'm assuming that if it's showing extremes of temperatures, maybe it's doing the same thing with the snowfall. We'll see, though it's definitely something interesting to point out here. But otherwise, it's, again, mostly a snowy and cold pattern supported by most of the models. For individual systems, we will have to just wait and see, as we are a little too far away for now. And that is basically it for today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully you learned something new. And I'll catch you all in the next episode. See ya. Bye.